Welcome back, everyone, to another week of Just Jossin. I am one half of your hosts, Sabrina Hannon.
I'm Jasmine Heron, the other half of this dynamic duo.
And this week we are covering Inca Mummy Girl and Reptile Boy. We're doing full-on Monster of the Week. Yes. All right, so we have Inca Mummy Girl, perhaps one of the most problematic of the season.
Well, maybe not of the show, but definitely
of the season, yeah.
So Inca Mummy Girl aired October 6th, 1997. And I actually have to apologize for something because I totally missed Buffy's birthday. That Buffy is now 16 years old. In my head, she was still 15. But no, at this point, she was actually 16 at the time of Prophecy Girl. So Buffy's birthday takes place in January. So we are coming up on Buffy's,
17th, right?
17th birthday, but she is 16 right now. So right off the start, like from the very opening scene, we have them talking about, the exchange students and the cultural exchange. And Xander says it's part of that whole Megillah, the cultural exchange Megillah. And I'm like, what is that word? Mm-hmm. And it's actually a Yiddish term that colloquially means an overly complicated affair. And as far as I'm aware, Xander is not Yiddish.
No, I mean, maybe Willow because she's Jewish, but
so it's like he's even like appropriating another term to talk about their cultural appropriation festival.
Mm-hmm. Very American, yes.
And then again, Xander is such a problem in these two episodes. And he's talking about the beautiful melding of cultures when he's thinking that there's going to be a girl. And his
beautiful women he wants to meld with.
It's a woman that he wants to meld with. And then when he finds out that it's a guy, he's like, there's no melding. What are you talking about? Melding? No. Mm-hmm. Introduced to Rodney Munson. And what he lacks in smarts, he makes up for in lack of smarts. Yeah. Which is actually a phrase that my sister and I still use to this day. Like, that just stuck with us, that line. What he lacks in smarts, he makes up for in lack of smarts.
I definitely feel like I've heard Miriam describe someone that way before.
Mm-hmm. For our viewers, Miriam is my younger sister who also got hooked into the Buffy timeline around the same time as we did. So she was 5, 6 when it came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, God, yeah. Yeah, because she is 4 years younger than me, or 3 years. Because she got into high school a year after I graduated.
She was born in 92, so if this was 97, she might have missed the first round. I was definitely hooked on Buffy by season 3, watching it, as it was coming out. But that might have been past her bedtime, and so it wasn't until we got the box sets when I was in high school around 2001. Maybe 2002, that I know that she was watching the earlier seasons. So 2000, she would have been 10. So very ready for the Buffy universe.
Well, to be fair, when I stumbled into Buffy, I was 12, so.
Yep.
But yeah, this is problematic right from the beginning, but I don't know if you had more to say about the idiot.
Well, so I'm just a little confused by his motivation for what he's doing. Like, he's just being a vandal for vandal's sake, and there's no museum curator that's stopping him or removing him from the premises.
Or teacher that didn't make that, made sure all their students were together when they left.
Mm-hmm. So they start talking about, 500 years ago, which is around 1400 CE, we've got this Incan mountain god, Sabancaya, which is actually the name of a volcano in the area. So maybe they meant like volcano god that they were sacrificing to so that he wouldn't erupt and, kill them all.
Mm-hmm.
But they start talking about Ampata, who is the exchange student coming in from Peru. Now, this is my random little bit of trivia. The Inca mummy girl is actually based upon what's called Momia Juanita, which was an Incan mummy girl that was found on the mountain of Ampato. And so they took Ampato, the mountain, and they named their character Ampato. So, trivia!
Everyone loves a good spot of trivia. Yeah, one of the things, like, as I was watching that, I was just like, now, I guess you could possibly argue that since the mummy's just been laying there for God only knows how long, like, being shown about, that's how she has picked up English.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, modern day American English, because she would have to know what a bus stop is.
Mm-hmm.
So for it to make sense with what happens. But she sucks the life out of Rodney. That's his name, right? Yeah. Sucks the life out of him. The plate breaks right before that. And off she goes to become, it's in the bus stop. Nude,
Well,
I suppose.
so they kind of make it clear that she was, entombed alive. Like they didn't quite kill her. They sacrificed they sacrificed her life, but that she is alive and should not wake, basically. And that the seal is what keeps her asleep, or contained. But she is aware during all that time, which is how she knows that Ampata exists, because they're standing right over her corpse, and they're saying, oh, this person is coming from, I don't even know if they say Peru, but they just say, like, South America. He's a guy named Ampata. But I mean, for 500 years, not being able to move, having essentially locked-in syndrome, and I probably picked up a few languages.
But again, things like bus stop, like, it would be very hard, especially without being able, like, unless she can see, which her eyes are closed, because when she's sucking the life out, they go boop.
Yep.
I don't know. It's a stretch for me. The creepy little boop.
She listened a lot, as she stated.
Yes.
But and again we go back to, now this is a very Xander heavy episode, and Xander is just being obnoxious, saying things, like, oh, you've got the exchange student staying with you, and he's like, she's not staying with her, like, I'm the only one objective here, says the straight white male. But I don't know. So, he's going through this entire thing where he's like, oh, he's being very possessive of Buffy. And then he has this little side conversation with Buffy where he's like, we're going to the dance all together because I can't go just with Willow, because that enters date territory. And this makes it seem very obvious. At this point, everyone knows Xander has a crush on Buffy. But also they seem to be very openly talking about the fact that Willow has a crush on Xander. And Xander's like, nah, she's just my best friend. Like, but they're all kind of talking about it with each other and not really to each other. Like, Willow and Buffy are like, oh yeah, Xander has a crush on you, you know.
Which is very high school-esque.
Yeah.
Very high school.
And Allison Hannigan, you can read every emotion on her face.
Mm-hmm.
And so she gets this little smile when he's like, I love Willow. And she's like, and then he's like, but I don't think about her that way. And it's just this little crushy,
Mm-hmm. And I mean, at least like he is trying not to lead her on, but that is not his intention in trying to make Buffy go with them. Like that's not where that's coming from.
Yeah.
I mean, it might be a little bit of that. But.
And so then this scene goes on with, oh, Mr. Munson's missing. And then it's like, ha ha, maybe he woke up the mummy.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's like this pause, this beat of like, we're in Sunnydale. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. Damn Hellmouth.
So they, go back to the museum. They're looking for him, and they think that everything is fine, except the seal is broken, but the mummy's still there. And then Willow says, Mr. Giles, were the Incans very advanced? Did they have orthodontists?
Mm-hmm. Which is probably my favorite line of the whole thing. They have orthodontists.
Like, what happened to Mr. Muntz's clothes? Like, is he just naked in there? Did his clothes petrify as well?
Maybe she grabbed those to go to the bus stop. Otherwise, she's walking there nude.
Well, I think she was wearing not the white mummy bandages, but she was wearing like rags.
Mm-hmm.
So why was Mr. Munson not wearing his like jeans and a t-shirt as a mummy? And then if he was naked, why weren't they seeing his naked mummy boy parts? Like,
they fell off. Oh God, that would be enough to convince any man not to be mummified. Your jingly bits fall off.
And so there are a couple of things. Like I feel like the writers did some research, but not enough research.
Mm-hmm.
And this is before the days of Wikipedia. So I feel like they just went to like their generic encyclopedia and like looked up Inca and like had that like one half little page summary that were in the old, encyclopedias that weren't quite worth anything. Incans didn't have a formal written language. They had some hieroglyphs. They actually used mostly as a form of written language, tied knots. They would use knots to like communicate with each other. And the language I was looking up is called Quichua, which is still spoken today in some parts of Peru, but mostly people in Peru speak Spanish. And so, because Spanish came in and colonized and that whole thing, so they're like, oh, hey, maybe we could have this random exchange student from Peru translate this 500-year-old hieroglyph, basically hieroglyphs.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like saying to someone in Egypt, you speak Arabic, right? Can you translate these hieroglyphs?
Mm-hmm.
Like, completely different language. What? So then it just continues with the gross cultural appropriation. Xander being like, do we need to speak Spanish to this guy? Because I know Dorito.
Mm-hmm.
And it,
Yep. And sadly, very representative of the time.
Yep.
Very representative of the time. Now, of course, when Xander sees that Empata is actually a woman, and a beautiful woman at that, whoof, goodbye Buffy, goodbye Willow.
Mm-hmm.
He wants to meld now.
Yes. Now, where did Empata get the Empata? Inca Mummy Girl Empata. I think we'll just refer to her as Empata going forward, even though that's her assumed name instead of Inca Princess. Where did she get her makeup from? Like, she comes out with stunning lipstick and eye makeup, wearing the male Ampada's clothing after she killed him. But like, he didn't have lipstick. Is this just like supernatural lipstick that she's put on, or?
Maybe when she died, that's what she was wearing. Because, they would have had those cosmetics then.
I mean, I could totally go with they had smoky eyeshadow, but
They probably would have had some form of lip color as well. Just not what we're used to. Just some bugs.
So they bring her in, and then Xander is doing the gross thing that some people do when speaking to someone who has English as a second language, where they're like miming and speaking slowly and talking very loud.
Yeah.
Buffy and Willow are just talking to her like she's a normal person, and Xander's treating her like she's an idiot.
Which is funny, because out of the three of them, Xander would be the idiot winner.
And but she seems into it. She's like, oh, a man treating me like an idiot. Oh dear.
At least he's not trying to sacrifice me. Yet.
Okay. Why was Buffy going to be sharing a room with Ampada if Ampada was a guy?
Apparently Joyce, is very free-spirited, I suppose. Although we know she's not. I don't know. But yeah, this officially marks the second time that Xander falls for a non-human. Not counting when Buffy is vampire Buffy there for a brief moment. Yeah, so this is his number 2. Not his last non-human love, though.
No, very much not.
No.
And again, this is a very Xander-centric episode. So the next episode, Willow is talking about how excited she is for the dance, and she has worked on a very authentic costume. And Xander is like, okay, but what about my costume? Like, forget you. Like, let's talk about me. and my costume and how wonderful my costume needs to be. It can't be embarrassing. I can't wear lederhosen. Nothing with ruffles. He wants to look sexy because he wants to go with Ampada.
Yes. Also, ditching Willow. Well, he does say, like, he thinks that they're going to go together as a group, and she's like, no. It's actually also Jonathan's first appearance.
Yes.
Yeah, when Ampada corners him and is about to suck the life from him. But when we get to that dance, of course, it is racial stereotype on top of, like, it is a whole bunch of problematicness in one room. When Xander goes to pick up Ampada, and only like when she opens the door and he's there, and he has it's a serape on and the sombrero and like a fake, what is it called, cigar? Yeah. It's just like, oh, there are BuzzFeed posts now about why you should not do that.
that cultures are not costumes and people are not costumes. Yes, they're entire. Can we jump back just a hot second, though? We missed the introduction of Oz.
Yes.
So Cordelia with boyfriend
number 12.
Is it boyfriend 3 of this season?
Yeah, probably.
We're 3 episodes into the season, and it's boyfriend 3. Like, is Devin, the lead singer of this band, Dingoes Ate My Baby. And she says, I'm not going to be one of your groupies, but then of course she's going to be one of his groupies. And, Devon, who is just so typical high school male singer in a band.
Yeah.
He's like, man, Oz, your lead guitar, that's currency.
Mm-hmm.
And
And Oz wants none of that.
also, he says, oh, you're being too picky. What does a girl have to do to get your attention? I'm very confused by this answer. He says it involves a feather boa and a theme to a summer place. I can't discuss it here.
Mm-hmm.
But he also seems to be interested in a woman or girl or, a person who has substance.
Yes.
Cordelia continually portrays herself as being very vapid, and he has no interest in that.
Mm-hmm.
He wants someone who's interesting.
Yes. So of course, when he's up on stage, he spots someone who's very interesting because she's not dressed in a sexy costume. Her costume's problematic, but she's so stinking cute. Like with that little, so she's dressed as an Eskimo, but with her little red hair and the lining around her face. I just want to squeeze her.
Her harpoon. She made a harpoon. And she looks so cute in it. And you can tell that Allison Hanlon is a beautiful woman. Yeah. And she was a beautiful girl back then. And so you can still see that she's very attractive, even though she's all snug.
Also, like, it's California. It does not appear to be wintertime there. She had to be sweating her patootie off in, real life Buffyverse.
Well, so it's October. October in California is still pretty warm, though.
Yeah.
There's the scene where, she's like, where's Buffy? And she has to turn her entire body to look around. And then later she shrugs, and Xander's like, what was that? And she's like, I shrugged. And he goes, next time just say shrug. And she goes, sigh. Mm-hmm. It's just the physical comedy of that outfit is fantastic. And she pulls it off so well.
Yeah, Allison Hannigan, the world does not deserve her.
God will take it.
Mm-hmm. And of course, so Oz notices her when he's done with, he takes a break from his set, he goes to talk to her, and it's right when she's talking to Buffy, and they're like, oh no, Xander, and he's like, who is that girl? And he has that look on his face of just fascination. Mm-hmm. But the thing, Sunnydale High, as we've discussed, does not seem to be a large school. So I don't know how it is that he has no idea who she is, but whatever. Yeah, so they realize that Ampada has been sucking the life out of people, and she's the mummy, and she killed the guy that was supposed to, the bodyguard.
He's a bodyguard in terms of he was guarding the body. Mm-hmm. not that he was protecting her.
Mm-hmm. More like protecting all of us.
Yeah.
So he which he must be supernatural in some way as well, I'm assuming, unless he's just a generation born like how the Watchers kind of were. I want to suck Xander's soul out. She just wants to be with him for forever. So I'm guessing maybe she's able to age. I don't know. Or he's just going to be a creep with a 16-year-old girlfriend for the rest of his life in her mind.
Sure. But she has to suck on people pretty often.
Yeah. Well, we need to eat frequently.
So, she's been alive for, 2 whole days? Mm-hmm. And in those 2 whole days, she's eaten Mr. Munson, the bodyguard, and then she's already Ampada, and she's already looking for her next fix. She's getting crusty. And so she goes after little Jonathan, who is wearing what outfit? Is he cowboy?
I I think so. Ranch hand,
Like, was he Crocodile Dundee?
maybe. Maybe he was a cowboy in Australia.
So, um, yeah. And so she goes after him, and then he runs away because Xander's coming, and, you know, she decides that she cannot suck Xander's life force.
Hmm.
And at that moment where she kind of pushes him away and she's like, oh no, never mind, she recognizes that the mystical seal is being put back together again,
Hmm.
and which would put her back to sleep. So she goes out, and I have to wonder how big Sunnydale is, because like how fast does she get from the Bronze to
The museum.
the museum?
Also, Sunnydale has a lot of stuff in it. There's a museum, there's that zoo, like there's just there's two colleges because the college that's there is not Sunnydale Community College or whatever it is that Buffy goes to. So there's it's supposed to be a small town, but
Well, okay, so actually, I think that the zoo from the pack, the Heine one, she said that she'd gone to that same exact zoo at her old school in LA. So I thought that maybe that was more of just like they
in
went on
between.
a field trip an hour and a half away to a big old zoo.
Gotcha.
It wasn't like the Sunnydale Zoo. It was some zoo in California.
And California is a big state, so I accept this.
Okay. But
Um,
but yes, I agree. Like the museum has to be pretty close.
mhm.
And so
Well,
she goes up and she knocks out poor Giles and she sticks him in her coffin, except what, or sarcophagus. But why does she have that? Like, that wasn't what they supposedly killed her and put her in. But that was just like museum property.
mhm.
And sticks Giles in there, and then fights Buffy, and supposedly she's got super strength because she's a mummy. But
Yeah.
um, then she goes after Willow, and Xander, of course, is like, not my Willow, that's my best friend. Like, even though I got a crush on you and I shared a weird Twinkie thing with you, like,
If he wasn't going to allow Buffy to let Willow die, and he's had a crush on Buffy much longer, he certainly wasn't going to let Empata,
yep, yeah.
mummy girl, take out Willow.
But then it goes from super strong mummy girl to super weak as she's like desiccating right in front of him. And then the arms just tear off as she falls apart.
Mm-hmm. Xander really should seek therapy.
Nothing really from that episode resonates out into the larger world. We've got bits and pieces of like Buffy's resonating with this girl who had a destiny chosen for her, where a bunch of old men were like, little girl, you have to save all our people.
Yeah.
And so Buffy like kind of resonates with that. But when Buffy was given the choice or had to make the active decision of, do I embrace my destiny or not? She did. She faced her destiny. And Empata didn't want to. Empata wanted to be selfish, even though it meant sacrificing lots of innocent people.
Yeah.
And I questioned, like, at this point, does Seven Kaya at this point come back, like rear his angry volcano head and be like, man, the sacrifice is done. Now I'm angry again. Like,
maybe that's what's happening in 2020.
Maybe that's what's happening in 2020.
Mm-hmm.
But again, besides from like the brief introduction of Jonathan, who we will see again, we don't really have so much of like a greater, ripple effect from this episode.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the introduction of Jonathan and Oz, and I mean, and Willow being so stinking cute.
And there are, this is kind of the moment where we start seeing Willow acknowledging to herself that Xander is not going to be a viable option. Mm-hmm. Where, she even says, like, I can keep waiting for him to date everyone else and not me, or I can get on with my life. Mm-hmm. And then she's like, I haven't decided yet, but those are my options. And
I think that Oz popping up now when Willow is clearly deciding to move on with her life is kind of saying, like, if you don't need to wait around for someone like that, like once you open yourself up to those possibilities, someone will come into your life. Like, you will find someone. You're not just going to be alone forever.
Yeah. So then we move forward into Reptile Boy.
Mm-hmm. I had said this to you earlier this week, but I'm pretty sure that any Buffy fan who has seen this episode has a deep-seated distrust for frats. I've never liked them. Like, I just think that they're a bunch of trouble, and I think this is why.
Yeah, I kind of have this, like, stereotypical in my head that a fraternity is a bunch of rich white boys drinking beer and abusing women and, like, reveling in power and money. And,
and of course, the idea that these legacy secret society things make sure that the money is passed down from, that the same people stay in power, basically. Yeah. And, also that occasionally they're going to sacrifice someone to some sort of demon in their basement.
Yeah.
Normal things.
And so we open up with, Buffy's house, and they're watching either a Bollywood video or just Indian music video, and they're very confused as to what's happening.
It's definitely a movie because they're describing the plot, kind of.
And Xander and Buffy are both trying to braid Willow's hair. Mm-hmm. And it looks like Xander has had a lot of experience braiding Willow's hair because he's got this beautiful, very tight braid going. And, like, Buffy's just kind of, like, very loose and very lazy, but as compared to, like, Xander's beautiful tight braid. And then Willow's just, like, enjoying having her hair played with, which I also think was a very high school thing. Not with your guy friends, but having your girlfriends just, like, do someone's hair while snacking and watching a movie.
Mm-hmm. Hell, I would want to do that now.
Yeah.
Who doesn't love having their hair played with?
And they're talking about how low-key and chill and not paranormal things are in Sunnydale right now. And then we cut to frat party, and this girl busts out of a window and jumps from a second floor balcony to the ground below. And she's wearing, like, white sneakers and this little green skirt and, like, a white top. And it's all very, like, waifish and, pristine looking. And there's these men in robes chasing her. Mm-hmm. And she's athletic. She climbs up a tree and over a wall and into a graveyard. And there's a dad gravestone. Did you see that?
I did not see that.
And all it says is dad. like there's no dates. It's just dad. So
we didn't like you that much.
I've just random. I was like, hang on, that. So then creepy guy in robe catches her, and he's like, where are you going? The party's just getting started. And it's so skeevy. And then he, like, flips his hood back up because he's all maniacal.
Mm-hmm. Mine is evil.
Intro.
Mm-hmm. And now we've moved on to Cordelia's next boyfriend, who is a senior in college who is dating a junior in high school. Mm-hmm. They're pedophiles. Yeah. Like, they are patrolling high school literally looking for victims. strolling about. And Buffy's not initially interested. Well, so Cordelia's boyfriend pulls up, or would-be boyfriend pulls up, with his friend, and his friend sees Buffy and is like, "Who's she?" And says the only way Cordelia can come to the party is if she brings her friend.
Yeah.
This is also, by the way, how human traffickers work, but that's another story. So Cordelia goes and gets Buffy. He's like, "You're gonna pretend to be my friend. You're going to go to this damn party." And Buffy's like, "Ugh," and she gets dragged over, not using her Slayer strength to resist, obviously. And the one guy's very crude, but then the other one is very nice and very charming towards Buffy. And that kind of convinces her.
Well, and it was kind of like the carrot stick situation. And Cordelia has been listening to Dr. Debbie. Dr. Debbie says when a man is speaking, you make serious eye contact and you really, really listen, and you laugh at everything he says. And
you laugh terribly if you're Cordelia.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, mine was a little more insane than her laugh.
Creepy dummy.
It wasn't quite like that. I'm sure my neighbors are like, "Oh my God, don't go into that house now."
But and again, this is very like, so Buffy's been dreaming of Angel, and she's been having dreams where stuff is happening with Angel. And Willow's like, "You're so right for each other, except for that vampire thing," completely ignoring the 241, 16, 241, 60, But, again, like, so Richard Anderson of Anderson Farms and Anderson Cosmetics shows up with Tom, but they are so predatory. They're looking around, and Tom's like, who's your friend? She's amazing. And it's like, how do you know she's amazing? You've seen her from 30 feet away for 2 seconds. So one of the comments, actually, like, Buffy is talking with Giles, and he says, "You act like I don't know what it's like to be 16." And she's like, "You don't know what it's like to be 16 and a girl and a Slayer." And it's like, your, British male experience is going to be very different from my female experience. And then, of course, she's also a superhero.
Yes. And Giles kind of goes, "Yeah, fair point."
Yeah, he's like, "I acknowledge that." And then she pouts, and so he says, "Okay, the pouting worked." And when we see Richard, we recognize him from the pre-intro scene with Callie. We recognize, oh, that beautiful man with the beautiful hair is an evil, evil guy. But he seems to have a nice friend.
Oh, and it's important to notice at this point, when patrolling, Buffy has found a broken bracelet that has blood on it. Angel smelled it. That's how we know it's blood. There's blood on it. And Buffy hands it over, and Willow and Giles are doing their researchy thing.
Well, they haven't actually started that yet. That comes next. So she's met Tom, and she's like, "Nah, like, I'm not really that interested." But Xander is like freaking, like, "Step away from him, run away, get walking." And Willow very subtly points out, his jealousy. He's like, "Don't you hate those men?" And she's like, "Oh yes, those men with their, power and money and good looks. Hate them so much." So then we get to the graveyard patrol, where she finds the bracelet and Angel smells blood on it, and they have the conversation where, they bring up age, and he's like, "I'm 241, you're 16. And she's like, "Yeah, I've done the math." But But have you understood the math, my dear? Because I don't think you have. And he says, this isn't some fairy tale. And then he says, you know, like, I kiss you and never, it's no happy ending sort of thing. And she goes, no, when you kiss me, I want to die. And which was a very confusing line. Because, like, I get it. It's supposed to be so dramatic, but, you know, she's basically saying, like, when you kiss me, I feel so many emotions. Like, but just to say, I want to die, like that.
Very, very teenage drama.
Teenage drama. So then next cutscene, we've got our fraternity boys in robes talking about Makita, whom we serve. And then they pause their ritual, like, preparations for brewski time. Because that's how frats do.
Yep. Well, I mean, duh.
So Buffy is then having this conversation with Willow about, you know, this terrible conversation with Angel and how it wasn't going well. And Xander is looming. He is looming behind the two of them. And he's just constantly interjecting into the conversation. You get away from Angel, like, Angel bad, no Angel, no Angel. And then she's like, well, at least Tom. And he's like, what, Tom? No Tom, no, like, you know. So it's out of the frying pan into the fire. Like, he is trying to control her, and it's so great. And then they go to the library, and he knows that she is going to this party with Cordelia. She's agreed to go to this party with Cordelia, and that Tom is going to be there. And he immediately tries to manipulate Giles into forcing Buffy to not go to the party, instead to be on patrol.
Yes.
Oh, no, Xander. So gross, so inappropriate.
Interesting, though. So, bit of Buffy trivia. This episode is the first time patrolling, that term is used.
Really?
It's the very first time it is used. Before it was hunting.
Okay.
So
which makes it does seem like she's getting more militaristic. Like.
And it's also more Buffy-esque lingo working its way in. Patrolling. I can't think of anything else right now. But yes, it's Buffy starting to become more Buffy-esque.
Yes,
really. So Cordelia picks Buffy up for the frat party, and I don't think she had really told, like, Buffy definitely didn't have any idea what she was actually in for going there.
Yeah, I mean, now Cordelia gave her the do's and don'ts. You know, this is not for fun. You are trying to help me land Richard Anderson.
Of Anderson Cosmetics.
So that I can have lots of money. And then she talks about the diversity. You've got all the rich people and all the other people. And although I do want to comment about diversity in this scene, or in these scenes, they have...
there's none?
No, they have one black guy. They have one black guy, and he is in every single shot. And, like, they move around the room, and there he is, and there he is, and there he is. They're like, we have diversity. We have our one token black guy with his earring and his tie.
I consider that no diversity.
But I looked, I was like, no, and I was like, this is a different guy, right? And nope, it's the same guy, and he is like just off screen or just in every single shot. Even when they're all moving around the room, there he is in this crowded frat party. He's just everywhere.
And Xander still not being satisfied with the fact that Buffy has been allowed, like, is at this party. He decides to crash the party and literally crashes through a window because he can't get in either way, and he just falls unceremoniously through a window.
And then hors
And then what?
Hors d'oeuvres. He immediately gets distracted by hors d'oeuvres. Like, was there like shrimp tempura or something? He was like talking about Godzilla with these random girls, and the frat guys are like, "Oh, hey, there's definitely a guy that does not belong here." And so they claim that he is a pledge, even though all the pledges are wearing diapers and bow ties
and serving.
And they say pledge. They dress Xander up in a wig and a bra and want him to dance and shake it
while getting spanked with paddles.
Yep. And one guy yells out the line, "Wrap it up and I'll take it." And these are my feelings towards frats coming back. Like, we had like honor frats in my university, like honor frats and honors like sororities and stuff like that.
Yeah.
In my head, frat or fraternity was evil reptile demon worshiping. Hi, sweet kitten.
Scarlett just came bounding over and was like, "I'm going to stand immediately off camera and look angry at you for not petting me and picking me up." So, yes. I didn't have, like, the school I went to, we did not have any sort of frats. When I went to grad school, we did, but they didn't really have a big, they weren't really big on campus, like, but also we were right by Yale, so that's where, if you wanted to be in a frat, that was the frat you wanted to be in. Any of them at Yale.
Yeah. So Buffy initially does not want to drink or is not drinking. She's not really socializing. Cordelia has like thrown herself right into dangerous situation. Buffy's like, no thanks to the alcohol, but then she's getting a little bit nervous because, oh, well, maybe I'll just have a little bit. And then they've got the Hulk who comes at her. And I think we realize later that this is actually staged. Like, he drunkenly comes at her so that Tom can swoop in as the nice guy and get her to get her guard down so that she can take a drink, and the drink is obviously drugged.
Yes.
And Buffy then stumbles to a bed upstairs to just lie down for a little bit. And so much for all of our female viewers out there.
Yeah.
You do not, when you've been drinking, find a bed at a party.
Also, don't take, Buffy leaves her drink unattended at various points. You never leave your drink unattended. You never take a drink that's not from a bartender. And even then, if you can watch them make it, because I do know people who have been drugged by bartenders. Like, you just have to, and if you're somewhere, I always take them, with my water here, I'll demonstrate. I always put my hand over. If I'm not drinking and it's not directly, even if it's directly in front of me, I have my hand somewhat covering my drink.
Have you ever had an experience, personally, of someone trying to drug a drink?
Yes. I was at parade day. It was a rooftop party, and I left my drink with my friend because I was going to the bathroom. And when I came back, it didn't register with me that suddenly she had a bunch of food. So she had got up and left the table and left at least my drink unattended. And it was, I kind of did what Buffy did because I did wander away from that party, but I wandered down into a crowd and I know something didn't happen to me because I was on the phone the entire time trying to get someone to pick me up, which they did. But I was on a street that like I've known my entire life, and they were like, "Where are you?" And I was like, "I don't know." And so my sister-in-law had me walk to a street sign and tell her like what was there. Um, so I didn't lose, like, I don't remember anything, but I didn't lose consciousness.
Mm-hmm. When I was in graduate school, I had a situation where somebody bought drinks for my table, and he came over and he was very specific, like, this one's for you. And it struck me as odd. And I just said, actually, I'm the designated driver, so I'm not drinking at all. And one of the other guys at the table said, well, I'll take it. And he took my drink and he drank it. And that was one of 2 drinks that he had that night, and he blacked out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I ended up having to drive him home. His wife had to help him, like get into their house. And everyone was talking about, oh yeah, like he got accidentally roofied. And they kind of made it out to be a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, ha, 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 it was a joke. He took a date rape drug that was meant for Jasmine. And that was just kind of the culture, was like, oh, that's just a thing. That's just a thing that women should expect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's like, I know I was told a lot getting into college and maybe even high school too. Hi, Scarlett. To protect your drink, like all the things that I just said, like, you never leave your drink. If you do, leave it with someone. Da 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 da. Meanwhile, I know men who will just walk out like of a bar and be like, I'll be right back, and they'll leave their coat with like or whatever with their drink and come back. No fear, no concern. And keep in mind, like, it should be that way, but that's just not the reality, unfortunately. Scarlett, you need to settle down, cat. Yeah, like immediately how like what Buffy is doing is like so many alarm bells with like, especially when anytime someone's pressuring you to drink or they designate a drink for you, do not drink that drink.
Yep.
Danger,
Yep.
danger, danger.
Yep. And so again, I feel like even when I was watching this when I was a preteen, I've got like little alarm bells going off. But as an adult watching this, I'm like, oh no, Buffy, run! Like, find Cordelia's car, get in and lock the doors.
Yep.
So then she passes out in the bed, and creepy Richard comes in to molest her, and Tom stops him.
Yeah.
And at first you think, oh, Tom's,
he's the good guy.
Nope, he is not the good guy. He is preserving their supposed virgin sacrifices.
Mm-hmm.
And
so he's saving her from being raped, but not from being slaughtered.
Yes, not from being slaughtered and eaten.
Yeah.
And so then we cut back to Willow and Giles, and they're working,
Mm-hmm.
trying to figure out, oh, they found the missing girl. Her name is Callie. And she, has been missing for a week now. And they like keep looking for like more information. Eventually they figure out that it's on like the 10th day of the 10th month that there seems to be multiple girls disappearing, 3 every year.
Yeah.
And so they, notify Angel, and then Buffy is asking Willow is asking the important questions here. She's like, how do you shave? Like, with no reflection. How do you shave? And then when she reveals to them that Buffy has lied and has gone, she gives them a piece of her mind. And she's like, you're 200 years years old, you can't go on a date, like you can't have a cup of coffee, and like just really lets them have it.
Yeah.
Oh, well, our truth sayer.
Mm-hmm.
She just, like, here are the facts of the world, guys, and now we still have to go save Buffy.
And Cordelia. Yeah.
And Cordelia. And so, they wake up and they're in a basement, and Cordelia won't stop talking, and Xander has been kicked out, and they call him a jerk water, which I guess is like a jerk wad, but with more syllables. And again, that's the Whedon-esque, like, he takes regular insults and regular words and just kind of twists them.
Yeah, adds on.
And so Giles and Willow and Angel show up, and they see our Xander comes up behind them. He's wearing the robe that he found in the trash for unknown reasons. And he's like, oh yeah, I saw them like going down into the basement with this, and Buffy is still in there, and Cordelia's still in there. And
because Xander has seen Cordelia's car, that's how he knows that they're still there.
Yeah. And Angel gets vamp face. He's like, Buffy's in danger. And
I think Xander says, like, that's the guy you want on your team.
Well, yeah, he's like, I guess that is the guy you want to party with, because he'd been making snide comments earlier about not wanting to party with Angel, and he's, yeah, you do want to party with Angel. And then they go and they beat up the guards. I guess fraternity houses are not subject to the rules of letting people into your private abode for vampires.
Well,
not in.
Well, skipping much further ahead, when Buffy's in college, the dorm rooms are the same. So I think because they don't own them, it is public housing technically. Like you have to be a student, but like just walk right on in. It's ever changing.
And so like they go in, Tom turns out to be a real jerk, like so misogynistic.
And the worst of them.
Speak to him, he like smacks her, like, don't talk to our great lizard lord.
And the girl, Callie, right? It's Callie who's been tied up in the basement. She says he is the worst one. He seems nice. He is the worst. The most dangerous. And probably he's a psychopath, like an actual psychopath. So when the giant lizard lord comes about, he's very phallic looking, and he's supposed to be. Manny Noxon acknowledged the phallic imagery and said, yep, it's a metaphor. Specifically, yep, that's a metaphor, is the quote. So, the giant penis demon
is an amazing scream queen, because she gave some amazing scream in that scene.
Yes. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, but then Buffy grabs that sword, and Willow gives the great, like, commentary of Buffy's fighting some guy with a sword. Also, there's a really big snake. And, like, just kind of letting them know while Xander's punching the Hulk on the head for all the makeup and the, humiliation. And for the last 16 and a half years of his life.
Yeah. Just, he's gone to therapy now. Yeah, and then Willow kind of has to direct them down into the basement, like, move. And they go down and cause enough of a disturbance that Buffy is able to do what Buffy does and slay the demon, and the bad guys do get sent off to jail. But the one thing I have to say, my one problem with this, so this is the first time Buffy lies to Giles, and Buffy has alcohol, and Buffy is immediately punished. Now, while that is something that does happen, like this idea of like, lying to your parents about where you're going is not a good idea, especially if you're going to a frat party, because if they're trying to get teenage girls to go there, it's not on the up and up. So there's some merit to that, but also she like steps out of line a little bit and is punished and is almost raped, like, which is problematic.
I mean, so the thing is, like, she lies to her mom all the time. Like, so it's not so much lying to your parent, it's lying to Giles. That's like...
But Giles is the actual authority over her.
Yeah.
You know, literally lying to Joyce is part of her job description. But we do see Jonathan again, too, in this episode.
Yes. Jonathan, so Cordelia goes from boo high school boys, yay college men. By the way, college men are not men yet. Like, they're working on it, but, you know. So
you have to find like a graduate student. Although if you're a high school student, do not look for a graduate student either.
Yes. Try to stay age appropriate, please. But so to then going like, no, young boys who will serve me and bring me my drinks and my muffins and my extra foam. That's what I want.
Yes. And Angel at the end of this does ask Buffy out for coffee.
And she plays it cool.
Oh yes. Yeah, I mean, with this one we don't have new characters introduced, but we have more story arc put in. You know, Angel and Buffy's relationship is moved ahead. Cordelia goes through yet another man.
And so she's like, you guys, like, all these things happen when I'm around you guys. Like, I hate you guys. But she's also orbiting more and more into, you know, into their realm.
Yes. And I did also, where is it? I don't know if what this is going to do, but we'll see. So I pulled up Angel's Curse.
Okay.
Like the English translation. This is not related to the episode because I was curious because we've been going back and forth about whose soul is in there. So it's what is lost, return. So that's a little ambiguous. But it says, Gods bind him, cast his heart from the evil realm. Let him know the pain of humanity. But it's, let this orb be the vessel that will carry his soul to him. So it does make me think that Angel has angel soul, not non-Liam soul.
Yep. Okay. So these have been two very Xander-centric Monster of the Week episodes. And, you know, it's definitely... Xander is having difficulty. Although he's acknowledged that Buffy does not reciprocate, he's still having trouble allowing her to be her own person. He's still in that nice guy friend like slot, where he's trying to, if he just keeps the other guys away from her, surely she will eventually, you know, turn to him. But
meanwhile, this is the second time now that Xander has helped save Cordelia. And she's definitely noticing this.
Yep. So, all right. So next week we are discussing
Halloween.
So we just went through two very Xander-focused ones, and we're about to come up on some big Giles.
Which I love Xander. I truly do, especially like in later on seasons. But I love learning about Giles. But yes. Thank you as always for Just Jossin.
Yes. And we'll see you next time.